This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, there it is. Hi, everybody. What an exciting time trying to get my computer to work. Sorry we're late, but that's my fault. So I welcome you all to the January 2022 meeting of Tecumseh Committee of Adjustment. Trying to see who all is here. Oh, we got 2 pages of, oh no, I got 2 pages of people. Okay. So Chris and Tony and Daniel and Paul and Tom, and that's it, I guess. Okay. So welcome you to the 2022 January meeting of adjustment for the town of Tecumseh. I just did a roll call. Did I miss anybody? Is there anybody on that I didn't mention? Lori's not here. Okay. So call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Minutes of November 2021 meeting, November 22nd, 2021 meeting. Were sent this morning, Daniel and Tom. Any addition, deletion, correction? All in favor? Carried. Meeting of December 13th, 2021. Tony and Tom. Any addition, deletion, correction? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. We okay, Barb?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I do want to welcome Barb to our meeting.
Thank you.
A worthy stand-in for Donna. So Barb, I guess we're at the first application for Revenberg Holdings, please.
Okay, and can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're
Okay.
great.
Okay, this is an application for minor variance A0122 Revenberg Holdings Limited at 6507 10th concession. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 1524B of zoning bylaw 8518, which establishes a maximum lot area of 0.5 hectares or 1.24 acres. The applicant is seeking relief to allow a maximum lot area of 0.6 hectares, that's 1.5 acres. And this is a condition of a previous consent application B1621, which is for a surplus dwelling lot as shown on the sketch submitted. The lands are designated agricultural in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned agricultural A in the zoning bylaw 8518. I received no comments, nothing from IRCA, fire, nothing. So that's
Okay.
what I have.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Tracy Pilon-Abs, you're with us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Pilon-Abs Inc. I'm the agent for the applicant.
Okay, do you have anything you want to add to what we've been told? This is like a second go around on this piece, I think.
That's correct. It was a condition of consent. We reviewed staff report and we support the recommendation.
Okay, so there is a recommendation, I think. Let me just, this was all set up on my other computer, of course. Okay, so there's no recommended conditions. Does anybody want to make a motion to do something with this? Don't all speak at once. Tony? You're muted, Tony. You're
Okay.
doing the town clerk thing.
I'll make a motion that we accept minor variance application A0122. I believe we had discussed this at depth on the previous when we did the severance, and this was just a condition of that severance. So for those reasons, I believe it meets the 4 tests. So for those reasons, I will make a motion to support this application.
Okay, is there a seconder? Paul? Chad, you were waving at
Yes.
me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and sorry for interrupting, but there was someone that was interested in listening in on this and actually attending the meeting tonight. And I just wanted to make sure that that person isn't here with an interest in this application.
Do you have a name?
I can't recall. Barb, could you help us out with the name of the gentleman that wanted to attend?
I believe it was
Peter
Peter Steves.
Peter
Okay, so
Steve?
he's-
I haven't seen him.
Not here. Okay. Just wanted to make sure we didn't miss anybody, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thanks. I'm going to need lots of extra eyes tonight, so thank you very much. Okay, so there's a motion. Is there anyone else here that was going to speak to this one? Looking at the crowd, I don't see anybody. All right. So we have a motion on the floor. If there's no questions from the committee, all in favor of the motion? Opposed, carried. Okay, Barb, unanimous for the record. Thank you very much. Tracy, that was the easiest money you've made. So the next one, Barb, when you're ready.
Is the applicant,
Yeah.
is Jeff Sylvester with us?
Yep, there he is.
Okay. Okay, the purpose of the application, oh, I'm sorry, I'll read it for you. It's my application for minor variance A02-22, Amex Properties, Inc. at 5305 Walker Road. The purpose of the application is to seek relief from subsection 561A of V11 of zoning bylaw 8518, which establishes that freestanding air conditioner units can encroach one, I'm sorry, okay, let me start over. The purpose of the application is to seek relief from subsection 561A V11 of zoning bylaw 8518, which establishes that freestanding air conditioning units are only permitted to encroach into the required rear yard a maximum of 1.5 meters or 4.9 feet from the main wall. The applicant is seeking relief to permit 2 existing air conditioning units that are located 1.7 meters or 7.58 feet from the southerly lot line as shown on the sketch submitted. The property is designated business park in the town of Tecumseh official plan and zone M1 industrial and zoning bylaw 8518.
Okay,
I did get some comments here from engineering. As per attached screen capture from ASCON constructed plan prepared by DC McCloskey Engineering Limited for the recent development at this site, a shallow drainage swale is located on this property adjacent to the south property limit in the vicinity of the subject air conditioners. Engineering has no concerns with the requested minor variance, provided the shallow drainage swale has not been adversely impacted by the placement of the air conditioning units. If the surface swale has been altered, a suitable drainage feature must be reestablished to the satisfaction of the town chief building official. IRCA, I received no comments from Fire, Essex Power Lines, or Bell Canada. IRCA has no objection, as I'm sure you've read from their report.
okay. And the County of Essex has their minimum setback provision
Yes, sorry.
noted as well.
Yes,
Okay, Jeff, I'll give you a chance to bring us up to date on what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The original design had the air conditioner units on the north side of the building, which was right in the truck lane. So our concern, we weren't aware of the policy for the air conditioners, I guess, is probably the biggest problem. We were trying to protect the air conditioners. We moved them to the south side of the building so they'd be out of the path of travel for the vehicles. And they ended up in the side yard. The drainage swale went in after the fact, so that's not been impacted by their placement there. But we put them in the safest place that we could find on the site. So that's where they ended up, and here we are.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Thomas?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to the applicant, I don't think the placement of the air conditioners, is a big deal. But maybe for the record, you could just explain the hardship that would occur by, physically moving the building, or if you could move the building to accommodate.
We minimized the side yard setback to allow the satisfaction for the parking bylaws to park the vehicles on the north side of the building. There's only 6 vehicles allowed in front of the building on the frontage on Walker Road. So we would have had to ask for a minor variance for parking relief as well to allow the air conditioner units to be on the front of the building. The office is at that end of the building, so the condenser lines would have had to, the line sets to feed the air conditioners would have had to run all the way to the north end of the building, which is about 100 feet from where the air conditioning is required.
And secondly, what would the air conditioners normally be on top of the building?
This was, there are several buildings in Old Castle where so I never thought it was a big deal because there's condensers in the side yards on several buildings on Walker Road as well. So I just assumed that it was okay. I know there's a policy for air conditioners in the side yard residentially. I never thought it applied industrially. And normally if it's a commercial building with a rooftop unit with its heat and air, it's on a curb sitting on the roof. But the shop isn't air conditioned. So we went with a more economical standalone air conditioning, air handling unit for the offices. So the condenser could have been wall mounted, but it would have still ended up on the side yard. So I don't know if that encroachment applies if it was off above grade by 10 feet or anything like that. So they're pad mounted for service, ease of service. And we put them out of the way because the whole perimeter of the building on the other 3 sides has access by vehicles. So it was a safety concern as well as convenience for the length of the line set to reach the office.
Okay, thank you. And at the appropriate time, I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Okay, is there anybody else have questions or comments? Tony?
I guess my question would be for administration. 1, is that property under site plan control? 2, that adjacent property line there, would that be the interior side yard for the property on Walker? Or would that end up being a rear property line for that property on Walker? And the reason I'm asking that is if there was a rear property line, it may aid in a buffer, a better buffer there for those for the noise coming from those AC units.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's not under site plan control, and that would be the interior side lot line, the property to the south. And then the other thing I wanted to point out for the committee is that the notice that went out contained a measurement that was incorrect. So that measurement was corrected in my planning report. And just so the committee knows what it is deciding on in terms of the motion that will be made ultimately, the relief is to permit those air conditioning units to be to encroach 1.08 meters into the required southerly side yard, resulting in a setback of 4.92 meters from the southerly lot line.
So in feet times 3. Okay, I'm still working in feet, guys. Anybody else? Paul? Muted, please.
I would just make a motion if I could.
Uh,
Make,
Okay, Tom.
just
was
ready to make a
volunteering.
motion if,
Go ahead.
go ahead. I just want to make a motion to approve and pass applicant A0222 5305 Walker Road to it meets the 4 tests and is minor in nature.
Okay, support, Tom, I guess. Thank you. Yeah, we don't, I guess that the, Chad, do we need to do anything about making a comment about the swale, or since it's already there and all working, it's okay?
Mr. Chair, I think that we've heard from the applicant's agent that the swale is outside of the area affected by the air conditioning units. And I
Okay,
think that we're comfortable with that. And the engineer
Okay.
would be as well.
very good. Any other, there's a motion on the floor. Is there any comment on the motion? All in favor? Opposed, carried, unanimous again.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for bearing with us here.
No problem. Technology is a wonderful thing when it works.
Yeah, you're right. Riverside Drive, Barb.
Okay. This is for an application. Okay,
0322.
getting mixed up in my notes here. Okay, this is for Genevieve Belanger.
Right.
At 13038 Riverside Drive. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 6.1.11 of zoning bylaw 1746, which establishes that the midpoint of the wall nearest to Lake St. Clair of any new dwelling or any addition to an existing dwelling for lots on the north side of Riverside Drive shall not extend beyond the established building line. The applicant is requesting relief to permit a 305.8 square meter, that's 3,292 square feet addition to the existing dwelling. 254.1 square meters or 2,735 square feet of which would extend 27.9 meters or 91.6 feet beyond the established building line. That's and is on this sketch, it's shaded and identified as Area 1 and Area 2. The property is designated residential in the official plan and zoned residential zone 1. It's R1 in zoning bylaw 1746. Engineering had no comments. Fire, no comments. S6 power lines, no comments. ERCA, their usual comments. They have no objection to this. Bell Canada, no concerns.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Zaleski, and welcome.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to let the committee know about?
Sure. I guess the intent of adding on to the home and trying to respect the distance from the waterway and the views and the sight lines. In terms of encroachment, we tried to align the most northern face of the existing home, and we actually set back the addition to be a little more respectful to views. So we have completely considered to the best of our ability in trying to add on to the home pragmatically and in consideration of those sight lines. So the most part of the addition is an open porch that aligns with an existing small porch to the north. And I also provided a couple diagrams which show the existing home already unfortunately is set forward, and we're just trying to add to the house, and the sight line is already compromised significantly without this addition. So.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody on the committee have a question? Thomas?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant or agent. So that's area 1 is a proposed upper balcony.
Yeah, it's a covered porch that has an open air balcony, yes.
And is there any elevations available for this? I didn't see anything.
No, there's no elevations. The design is still in kind of process of that side elevation, but it's basically a flat roof covered porch that extends and provides an outdoor covered area.
And below it is a concrete patio, or?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, just barbecue area and a seating and dining area.
And no chance of enclosing it?
No, the home at this size is being satisfied to with the addition to achieve any deficiencies that the family needs for the interior of the home. So there's definitely no need to enclose that at any time.
And neighbors are in support?
As far as I know, they are. Mrs. Belanger also owns the property to the east, and which they are going to keep as a guest house. And I know that we have spoken to the other neighbors, and nobody had any objections brought to our attention anyway.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think on initial blush, it's a home immediately to the east that's the most problematic. So I'm glad you explained that its future use. Anybody else have a question, comment? Don?
Just through you, Mr. Chair, to administration. The setback for that house, was that, just out of curiosity, was that an existing wall that was left in place and built around? Is that how it got stuck out there so far?
Mr. Chair, I can't answer that. There are a lot of situations, however, where these houses were built prior to the bylaw being in effect, and I suspect that's what's occurred here.
I can say that the original house is the most northerly portion of the house. It was added on once before to the south, but that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Doesn't appear to be anybody with us on this. So if you're satisfied with questions, is there a motion? Daniel?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the application for minor variance A0322 located at 13038 Riverside Drive. It's impossible to deal with the sightline issue there that's already affected from many, many years ago. And the current house to the east is a cottage that was built close to the road. So there's no chance of ever, changing that. So in that regards, I think it meets the 4 tests, and it is minor in the sense that the property is already owned by the same owner to the east and not affecting another neighbor's sight line. So in that regard, I would approve the application.
And supported by Paul. This is probably the most major minor variance we've had. Quite a large variance anyway, but but that's the whole point of the committee, is that you look at the situation and decide if it makes sense, and if it makes sense for the neighborhood, and the neighbors are happy with it. Okay, Chris, question.
Yeah, I just want to note that the planning report comments that there should be a condition added, that it be conditional upon application B1821 being finalized, which was the consent application. Unless that was changed, Chad, but I think that was in the report.
Yeah, so it'll be approved, condition that it be approved, and that the severance application proceeds and is completed as well. Right? Okay. So that keeps it all in the family. All right. Anybody else? Oh, mover and seconder, there's that addition. You're okay with that? Daniel and Paul? Yeah, okay. In that case, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Unanimous again. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you.
We good, Barb? Okay. Shawnee Road, there's a consent application and variance application. We're going to hear them together.
Yep, it's application for consent B02 and B0322, and a minor variance application A0422 for Paul and Mara Sabelli at 1547 Shawnee Road. The purpose of the application is to request consent to sever a vacant residential lot having a frontage of 13.7 meters, that's 45 feet, an approximate depth of 59.7 meters, it's 196 feet, and an approximate lot area of 819.4 square meters or 8,820 square feet. And that is, as you can see, outlined in red and identified as Lot A. The applicant also proposes to sever a second vacant residential lot having an approximate frontage of 19.81 meters, that's 65 feet, and a regular depth, and an approximate lot area of 130.4 square meters or 12,168 square feet. And that is outlined in the green and identified as Lot B on the sketch. The retained lot, outlined in blue and identified as Lot C on the submitted sketch, includes an existing single unit dwelling having an approximate frontage of 21.3 meters or 70 feet, an approximate depth of 59.7 meters or 196 feet, and an approximate lot area of 1,274 square meters or 13,720 square feet. If consent is granted, the applicant will require relief from subsection 7.14A of zoning bylaw 1746, which establishes a minimum lot frontage of 15 meters or 49.2 feet. The applicant is seeking relief to permit a minimum lot frontage of 13.7 meters. That's 45 feet for proposed Lot A as outlined on the sketch. The lands are designated residential in the town of Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential zone 2, that's R2 in zoning bylaw 1746. Comments from engineering: that the parcels will be retained and the parcels to be severed are to be serviced with separate water supplies, storm and sanitary sewer systems to the satisfaction of the town of Tecumseh Public Works Division, Water Division, and Building Department prior to the severance being finalized. The existing sanitary service for 1547 Shawnee, that's the retained lot, appears that it may be located on the proposed southern lot. This connection will need to be located completely on the retained lot. The existing sanitary service connection must be field located. The location must be determined all the way back to the house to ensure that it will be within the proposed lot boundaries for the retained lot. If the existing sanitary service connection is found to be on the proposed southern lot, it must be relocated onto the retained lot by the proponent to the satisfaction of the town's chief building official prior to the severance being finalized. There appears to be two existing storm connection services to 1547 Shawnee. One is in front of the existing house. One is north of the house. It must be determined what drains into the north connections as it will be located in front of the proposed northern lot. All services for each property must be contained with the limits of each lot. The proponent will be required to investigate these existing service connections and modify as required to ensure all subsurface piping is contained within the boundaries of each lot to the satisfaction of the town's chief building official prior to this severance being finalized. The applicant will be required to provide and implement an engineered drainage and grading plan for the parcel to be retained to ensure that runoff is controlled and prevented from flowing onto adjacent properties to the satisfaction of the town's chief building official. There is an existing shed on 1547 Shawnee on the retained lot. And based on the air photo, the north side of the shed appears to be farther north than the north side of the existing house. The sketch shows the proposed north lot with a 45-foot frontage. It must be confirmed that the existing shed will be located on the retained lot with required setbacks prior to the severance being finalized. The applicant will also be required to enter into and provide the town of Tecumseh a written agreement for the reapportionment of the drainage assessment for the subject lands in accordance with section 65(2) of the Ontario Drainage Act, RSO 1990 as amended, and that the associated costs of same will be borne solely by the applicant. Fire, no comments. PERCA, let's see.
No objection.
Let's see. No, they just, they have no objection, but it says the applicant must obtain a permit. I guess they're probably aware of that. The county, they just commented that the minimum setback must be 26 feet from the property limit of County Road number 22. Permits are necessary for any changes to the existing structure or the construction of structures. No access will be permitted off County Road 22. No new direct connections will be permitted to county road drains. And that's the comments.
Okay. This is the one, I don't think there's anybody in the gallery on this one, is there? Oh, there he is. Mr. Sabelli.
Yes, sir.
You're on page 2. Well, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you,
Do
Chair.
you have anything you'd like to add that we haven't heard in the rather lengthy description of what you want?
No, sir.
Okay. Does the committee have questions? I'm going to go back to page 1. Just Daniel. Daniel, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I have a question for our administration. Regarding that shed that's on the back property of the existing home, I know that's a condition that it has to be within the proper setback for the new lot that's being created north. If it's not, what is the outcome of that? If you can explain that process, please.
Certainly, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, there are two options at that point. One is to remove the shed or relocate it in accordance with the bylaw provisions, and the other is to apply for relief. Now, I should also add that the proponents submitted a sketch identifying that both the dwelling and that structure are set back the required amount in accordance with the bylaw. And I'll just share my screen to show you that. You can see that's actually, my apologies, that the residence is 4 feet, which it needs to be. There's no dimensioning for the pool house, so that will have to be determined and be in compliance with the bylaw or relief sought.
So Chad, to be clear, the shed is the pool house?
Mr. Chair, that's my understanding, and perhaps Mr. Sabelli could clarify.
Confirming, yeah, confirming that it's pool house.
Okay. Any other questions? Thomas?
So just for clarification through your Mr. Chair, the house and the shed meet the required setbacks, or we don't know about the shed, but the house does?
Did you measure?
Chad?
Mr. Chair, if it makes the committee more comfortable, the condition could read that, and we've got a recommended condition in the report. It could read that both the existing dwelling and pool house meet the requirements of the bylaw 1746, or that relief be sought to provide a variance for that setback.
And the applicant's fairly confident that it would meet that, can comply?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sabelli, you haven't done a survey on this property, right?
No.
Chad, in terms of the complexity that this could bring, there's actually 2 severances involved here. What happens to the other side if you can't meet the condition on this side? Does one consent go ahead and the other one that fails, or?
It could proceed independently, but I would recommend that they both be contingent on verifying that the house is set back the requisite distance.
Okay.
I know Mr. Sabelli attempted to measure to the best of his ability, and it does look like it meets it when you hone in on it on the air photo, but it's difficult to use the air photo to determine that. So it should be verified, and I think that should be made a condition of the decision for both severances.
Okay. Thomas?
Mr. Chair, I'd be prepared to make a motion given those conditions of the survey, identifying those setbacks. As I think it does meet 4 tests, it makes sense for that area. I think it's good planning, and I think it would suit the area.
Okay. Support by Daniel. Chad, I had a question for you. Are those the 11 conditions, the total of all the conditions for this, or are there additional ones that are standard?
Those are the conditions that we're recommending, and of course, the one condition with respect to the shed or pool house will be changed to reflect that both the pool house and the dwelling
Okay.
should be surveyed to verify they're in accordance with the bylaw. And Mr. Chair, just again, I know that there was some interest in this application. I'm just not sure if there's anyone here in attendance on the Zoom meeting that wants to speak.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody on my list of people who wanted to speak about this, but if there is someone. No.
So Mr. Andre Roy, I believe.
Oh, he wanted to speak on this?
He wanted to attend. I'm not sure if he wants to speak, but he did want to attend, and I think he is in attendance.
Looking, he was on my screen earlier.
He has
Okay.
his hand up.
Oh, yeah, there he is. He's got his hand up. Mr. Roy.
Yes, hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay, I think.
Okay.
Um,
I just want to start off where I'm at 1522 Shawnee Road. We're good with the development. We like that stuff. We do have a concern over the Lot A. And the concern is for the neighbor, which is due north of the property. And I'm pretty sure when IRCA comes, they're going to want the property raised and the effect on that neighbor is one of my concerns, that's all.
Chad? Maybe you can describe the plans for surface drainage on that lot.
Certainly. So, Mr. Chair, as with any of these severances and the corresponding building plans, the proponent will have to provide a detailed lot and grading plan that illustrates how stormwater is to be retained on site and conveyed to the storm sewer along Shawnee Road without impacting the abutting properties.
Okay, so that, Mr. Roy, that's a sort of a standard requirement that we have because we're getting a lot of complaints about water coming from neighbors, and so the town does undertake to try to make sure that that doesn't happen.
One more question, and that has to do with Lot B. And it seems any new development requires a sound wall. Will this have to be in effect for this contractor or fellow who wants to sever this land? And that's all I got.
Okay. Well, thank you for your interest. And if you're speaking to that neighbor on behalf of that neighbor.
Oh, no. Oh, from that. Go ahead.
On the north, hopefully you could, let them know about the requirements that will be on that lot to give them some satisfaction for that.
Okay.
And in terms of sound barrier, we haven't heard anything about sound barrier on this, Chad, have we?
No, Mr. Chair, we did receive comments from the county, and the only comment was with respect to that setback from 22 is that any building be 26 feet from the property line. And the proponent is aware of that and understands that restricts his building envelope to a certain extent, but it still can result in a house that's consistent with the houses along the street in that area.
Okay. Did we have a motion, Barb, yet?
Yes.
Moved by
Tom Marintet and seconded by Daniel.
Okay. Any more questions from the committee? Okay. So let's vote on the motion since we have it. All in favor? With the 11 conditions that are listed there. Anybody opposed? No, motion pass.
Congrats.
Thank you, Mr. Sabelli.
Thank you. Thank you,
Good luck.
everybody.
Okay, and we have one left on Brighton.
Okay. This is an application for minor variance, A0522 Petman Homes, Inc., 293 Brighton Road. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 713E III of zoning bylaw 2065, which establishes a minimum interior side yard width of 2.7 meters or 9 feet. The applicant is requesting relief to allow an interior side yard width of 2 meters or 6.58 feet on both the northerly and southerly side yards in order to facilitate the construction of a 246 square meter, that's 2,650 square foot, two-story single unit dwelling as shown on the sketch submitted. The lands are designated residential in the Tecumseh official plan and zone residential type 2, R2 in the zoning bylaw 2065. No comments from engineering, building, or fire. IRCA, I did get the standard basically letter. They will be required to take out a permit from IRCA prior to any kind of development on the site.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. I see Mr. Tomaski's with us.
I'm here. One thing, Mr. Chair, I just received paperwork from IRCA approving everything that we've submitted.
Okay, that's good. That's one hurdle you've gotten by.
Yeah.
Any questions from the, hang on, Tom. We have nobody other than Bob listed as being here for this. I have a Peter and I have an iPhone. I'm not sure what they're for.
That might be Petvin Holmes as well, just kind of listening in.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thomas, you had your hand up.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant. I can appreciate your filling out the lot there. Perhaps you can just kind of walk us through why it is that you can't comply with the side yard setbacks, or what was your reasoning there?
Well, just the specific dwelling that we want to build on that lot just would not fit with the restrictions, with the side restrictions.
So I mean, I guess you, I guess that's simple enough explanation.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit the house you want to put there. And it's a 2-story porch. Are there walls on the sides, or is there any porches that encroach the?
No, just the side walls in the dwelling. There is a covered porch in the rear yard. I mean, if you do go on Brighton and you look at the houses that are there currently, I mean, their side yards are all over the place. So it's not like this one's going to look out of place because you don't meet the 9-foot side yard. There's houses that are 5 feet. So I don't think there'll be any issues.
And the air conditioning is going to be in the backyard?
The air conditioning will be in the rear, yes. The rear of the dwelling.
Okay, thank you.
Paul.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Chad Jeffrey, is there any way we can see some overhead view on side yards that are on that road that maybe neighbors to this lot?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is the subject property, 293. Yeah, it's difficult to determine what the side yard are for some of these dwellings, but we do know that there are a couple that received relief to the north in this area for a lesser side yard. So it is, it's not something that's unique to this area. And in my site visit, I noticed that there was a range of setbacks from the front, and there were differing side yards for the dwellings along here. And I don't believe that the 2 feet, roughly 2 foot relief on either side will be perceptible to someone that's walking or driving by. And I don't think it will result in something that's out of character for that area, particularly given that the house to the north, abutting it to the north, is set back much farther than this house will be.
Okay. Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Chad. I'd be willing to make a motion if it's the right time.
Before you do, I have a question. I'd like maybe to get Mr. Tomasky's opinion on I'm thinking about if you want to do anything in the backyard and you're limited to 7 feet, 6.5 feet on either side to get by. I noticed that there are some pretty nice line fences on both sides from the neighbors. So you're not going to be able to squeeze much of a vehicle into the backyard. For instance, if you wanted to put a pool back there, you're probably looking at manual labor to get everything out or lifting it over the house. I don't know. I've run into this in my own experience with lots, and I'm wondering if you've thought of that.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I've seen some, put a pool in and they had 5 feet, and I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is at that point. But as of right now, there's no pool in the future. I guess we'll have to just, jump that hurdle if we do want to do that. But other than that, any other smaller machinery that's 7 feet is plenty for, let's say, landscaping matters or anything.
Right. Okay. It just struck me going by there. You want to reduce the side yard, and what are you gonna do if you want to do something like I just did?
Yeah.
No, they had manual backhoes.
Yeah.
People with wheelbarrows. Anyway, okay. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none. Somebody started to make a motion. Paul?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to approve applicant A0522-293 Brighton Road, since it is meets the 4 tests and is minor nature, and obviously a lot of the other residents in the area done the same thing. I move to approve this applicant.
Okay, supported by Tony. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Unanimous again. We're in a good mood tonight. That's good.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks very much for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Where's my agenda? There are no deferrals. There's any unfinished business? I don't think so. Can you help us, Barb? You've been notified of anything like that?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Any new business?
I think they're the appointment of Secretary Treasurer for Chad. Well, in Donna's absence, I think they were looking for a motion for that.
Okay. So somebody want to make a motion to appoint Chad as Secretary Treasurer interim? Paul? Supported by Daniel? All in favor? Good. Just what you needed, Chad, was
It's only for a short, it's only to the 14th.
By the way, it's carried. Okay. One thing after the meeting. We're good. Motion to adjourn. Everybody, it's Chris and Tom. Got to get Chris's name in the minutes today. All right, all in favor? Good, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Dave? Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Good night.